So you're a dating expert, huh?
I'm a sex and relationship therapist. Yeah.
Sex and relationship therapist. Okay.
Yeah.
How how do you start? Like, how does that happen, man?
That's a good question. I let's see the trajectory of that. That's my origin story. I wanted to get into film and like screenwriting, all that good stuff, and uh, I ended up really enjoying kind of psychological thrillers. So I started to take psych classes and thought maybe I'll get my undergrad in psychology. Anyways, I ended up taking a sexuality class with a sex therapist from New York who moved to the Bay Area, and I just fell in love with this like 60-year-old New York Jewish woman who talked about sex very easily and directly.
Like
And I was like,
Dr.
holy,
Ruth?
yeah, kind of, And I was like, holy shit, I want to be her. Let's do this. And it was a really long. It took a while. It took I don't know, let's say 10 years or so. I got two masters, one master's in sexuality studies, and another master's in counseling psych. And I worked at sex shops or adult boutiques or adult retail, however you want to phrase it. One in Texas and one in California. Very, very, very different uh, laws around sex toys. I can get into that too. That was a wild time, and fun. And the people coming into the sex shop, um, there's a lot of embarrassment, a lot of shyness, a lot of shame. We're raised in the states and certain religions to be really embarrassed and shameful, secretive about what we like or that we even like sex.
Yeah.
And so I'd have guys coming in looking like the Unabomber, with the hood up and the sunglasses on, complete, trying to be incognito to buy a cock ring or to buy porn or to buy erotica or even lube or a condom. And that would told me like, okay, there's a lot of, we are totally indoctrinated to just hate sex and love sex at the same time. And I was raised to like talk about my family. Both of my parents immigrated to the States. My dad was Muslim and my mom is Catholic, but they joked about sex all the time.
Okay.
They talked openly about it. It was a very kind of open house around mostly jokes about sex, but um, so it was just kind of like it became a thing for me where I really wanted to help people talk about sex and dating in a comfortable way.
Okay. Dude, that's
Yeah.
dope as shit, man.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, no, like yeah, by the way, feel free to swear. I don't
Cool.
like I pretty much if I'm doing a show by myself, it's rare that I don't drop an F-bomb within like 2 minutes. So
Great.
it's yeah.
Same. Yeah.
I'm a huge video gaming nerd, so
Uh-huh.
it's part of my culture.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, the reason why I wanted to have you on is because it's cuffing season here in Wisconsin.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Everybody's starting it up, and I'm failing as it normally goes. And what better way to just kind of learn from a
Sure.
expert here and maybe kind of enlighten people? Because I've got some people on that I'm trying to get some people on to talk about some of their worst dating experiences.
Uh-huh.
And God, is it hard to find women to do a podcast? It is so
Really?
hard. Oh God, yes.
Uh,
Yeah, usually if I want to talk to a gal, I have to reach out directly and be like, "Hey, let's talk."
got it.
And when you throw it up there, I was like really hesitant. I was like, "But this dude, like, is he legit?" And dude,
Sure.
you got the diploma, you got the,
Yeah.
you look like like I'd want to talk to you about some shit, So like, yeah, man.
Good. Yeah. I'm glad I present that way. I've done a lot of schooling and training. And it's paying off.
How much schooling have you had to do?
So it was two master's programs. I'm a proud PhD dropout. That was when I lived in Texas. I went to a
Okay.
PhD program, and I loved Austin. But then I did. So normally to become a therapist, you do 2 years of master's program after bachelor's, and then you do about 3 to 4 years of postgraduate training to get your hours.
Oh, so
Um,
like the doctors and stuff and the rotations.
Pretty much like that.
Okay.
Yeah, very similar to that. So I did 3,000 hours of clinical work before I could take my like 4-hour exam to get the stamp behind my name that says I'm a therapist.
Get the stamp
Yeah.
on your name. That's awesome. So like, so because like my mom's a nurse. She like
Oh,
used,
great.
yeah, she actually used to run a couple hospitals up here in
Uh,
Wisconsin as well as
uh-huh.
down in Texas. And like, I know the craziness. Like, it's funny because I'll be like, like you'll see her on the news and it'll be like Doctor, Doctor Jared's mom, and it's just like oh doctor, and she's like no, it's just she's like she doesn't really care much. So like how much did that mean to you to get that? Congratulations.
Yeah, it felt good. And I think that's why, to go back a couple of steps, like I think that's one reason why I wanted to get a doctor in front of my name, was that validation, was that I also like doing the research. But now I don't have the doctor in front of me, but I got the license behind my name, and that felt really rewarding afterwards. But it also felt like, okay, I want to start my work now. I want to open up my practice and start talking to, and so over time I just kept talking to more and more men or male identified folks that were just coming to me being like, I really want to date, I really want to have sex, I want to be intimate, but I just go right up into my head and I'm just like a floating head, and I'm not even aware of what's going on in my body, and for some reason my dick isn't getting hard, or I just get really nervous, or my hands get sweaty, and then I think about my sweaty hands, and then I'm not, and it just
dude, that is me to a fucking T.
Okay.
I've had that happen where it's like, oh fuck, am I broke? I'm 32. Right. I should not be broke.
Yeah, right. Those type of I'm married now, but when I was dating, I remember just being like, this is expensive. This is, and I was bartending and going to school, and so I was like, I need to be really careful and creative with the ways that I'm dating. But yeah, I think that ties in also to feeling like, am I enough for this person? This person in front of me, I want to date them. I want to, let's cuff, let's hang out for the winter. But am I enough for them? Are they going to approve of me? And I'm from the Bay Area. We have 2 seasons. It's kind of hot and kind of cold. So we don't have cuffing season here. But
I was lucky enough. I was lucky enough to live down in Houston for a number of years, and I remember my first winter. Like I'm out there in a long sleeve shirt and shorts, and it's like 50, and people are like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "This is warm. This is warm. I'm feeling good." And then the second winter I'm out there with a jacket, I'm like, this sucks. It's 50. So, I'm going to apologize right away, David. I do interject a lot. My brain is...
That's great.
My brain just works this way where it's like, question, boom, done. And so like, I apologize in advance. I actually really like that opening. Do you care if I keep that as the opening instead of just rolling with it?
That sounds great.
Okay, cool. I want to get your permission before I do, because I like to tell people, hey, I'm recording, and then if there's something good at the start, I just roll with it. So, welcome to episode 97-ish, maybe. I don't know. I have no clue. Let's roll with it.
I just looked. It said 98 on your.
Oh shit, 98. Is it?
Or you just published 98 with H&M,
didn't I? See, this is what happens. I'll get like 4 or 5 episodes in advance.
Oh, wait. No, you're right. 93.
Oh.
It's your podcast, man. What am I doing? Why am I telling you what to...
You know better than I do.
I'm trying to help, and I'm like, no, you're wrong. Sorry.
Dude, like anytime I post up, or anytime like I ask a bunch of people, all of a sudden I have 4 or 5 interviews lined up, and I'm like, fuck, there's next month's. And now it's like, oh, I got to do it again. And then I'm like, hey, welcome to episode I totally fucking forgot. Who cares? Let's roll with it. So
Right, yeah.
Whatever episode this is the episode. You fuckers know better than I do. So cool. So David, because we did touch on it like at the very beginning here, just the openness of sexuality in your household is what really started it. Yeah. I'm very curious. So you talk. Who are your? Okay, let me ask you this: who are the most people that come visit you? Is it more people that are male or female?
So it's I've male, female, and folks that identify as genderqueer or trans.
Okay.
And a lot of just because of the ways that I've like put myself out there, and also just being a guy myself, I end up having a lot of males coming to me.
Okay.
And just feeling more comfortable talking about sex. I think that ends up being the case. Yeah.
The way I view the trans people is they're like, oh, I'm a trans female. It's like, no, you're just a woman. There's no trans in front of you. You're just a female. Yeah. So that's why I'm like, is it male or female?
I see it.
Yeah. That's the way I perceive it. Because if you perceive yourself as XYZ, you think you're XYZ, I will call you XYZ, 100%. Doesn't bother me in the least bit. Just like when you order a shitty Subway sandwich in front of me. I don't care. I think you're making the wrong choice, but it doesn't affect me, So,
I go with what they say. I think I've been around hearing people talk about pronouns for a long time, where I'm just like, all right, if if that's, that's how you are, then that's how you are. And,
Yeah,
I'm
well,
not,
I'll call you
yeah,
Zimzies or whatever it may
yeah,
be.
yeah.
There is one very over the top one I just saw, but I'm hoping that it's a oh, what's that word where it's not a mockery, but it's
Oh, like a satire or
yeah, it's
parody.
satirical. It
Uh,
was I was hoping it was satirical.
uh-huh,
Yeah.
got it.
So, quick question: when it comes to the guys, because
Yep.
more men kind of come to you, what's the biggest thing that really kind of hits them, where it's like this is the most prevalent issue I found,
Uh-huh.
or do you have something like that?
Yeah, I think it's let's see, how do I say this? It there are things that differ up to, but it's feeling like not enough that they come to me. It's the moment that so it's either not getting hard enough, not making enough money, not getting enough partners, whatever it might be. But it is about not feeling like enough, and that's usually when they pick up the phone or type the email to reach out to me to say like, how can you help me? Um, yeah,
Just something along the lines of "I am not enough."
I am not enough, and I think we're guys are raised in a way to well, one way. So one thing with sex and sexuality with men, we are told to do three things. It's to get hard very fast, last a long time, and when you come a lot, right? And it's like porn and mainstream media and just all these things. And so if and then we're told that if we don't hit the mark on any one of those, sex is over, your relationship is over. If that's not the case, obviously, but that's what ends
Yeah.
up being like it feels like high risk or high stakes. And so they come to me saying like, I feel like my relationship's ending, or my view of myself is ending. How can I get some help here?
I I would love to be a fly in the wall when Peter North gets ready for a shoot because
Uh-huh.
yeah, everyone knows who Peter North is.
Yeah.
I would love to be a fly in the wall just to see what he has to do to get prepped and ready, or even just be like, "Sir, what is your regiment? Like, how do
Right.
you get to where you
What's your
are?
diet?
Yeah, what do you do?" It's funny that you mention it because like I always think about it and I'm like maybe one of the three. That's all you get, sweetheart. One of the three.
Yeah.
Pick
I mean, I
randomly
think.
pick. Randomly pick. What is it today?
Uh-huh.
So, when it comes to not being enough, is it more I can't really perform that well, or is it more along the lines of just the I don't make enough money? Is that what a lot of guys are kind of feeling nowadays, especially with the COVID pandemic? That it's just I don't have enough.
That's a big one. Yeah, for sure. I think it's getting the message, or feeling like a lot of responsibility is put on them. Whether or not they're the sole provider, whether or not they're single or partnered, but it feels like I got to do it on my own, and people are expecting me to do it
Sorry.
on my own. Um, and if I don't, and if I need help, then I'm not man enough,
Okay.
and I lose that. You know.
Yeah. When it comes to the alphabet soup relationships, the LGBTQ plus, because there's so many out there, I can
Yeah.
barely keep up with it.
Yeah.
Have you found that the issues with the alphabet soup community is pretty much the same as it is with a heterosexual community?
To a large extent, yeah. I think there are some differences in the coming out process, and whether or not there is acceptance from the family, the religious community. I mean, the LGBTQIA community does have a higher rate of like mental health issues, suicidality, and substance abuse issues directly related to issues around being out or not, or being accepted or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that can, just like any relationship, alcohol or whatever can really impact that, or feeling
Okay.
like you're not supported by your family can really impact you.
So there's that extra step that they have to kind of go through, and it
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
it sucks. It have you
Yeah.
have you found that it does kind of hindered a lot more with that in there? Is it kind of like fuck? I had an analogy for it, but like it's is it something that is prevalent in the community where that's just kind of the extra thing that comes out with them?
Yeah. Yes. And yeah, well, yes and no. I think one thing that's coming to mind right now is actually doing this work in this like time frame. So I've been sitting with clients yeah, about 10 or 11 years now. And in that time, I've worked with different generations, of course, where some of the older folk, I started working with some older gay men, and their stories of coming out were really intense, sometimes wonderful, sometimes sad, sometimes tragic, sometimes neutral, but mostly just kind of like, oh, okay, that was a rough time, it wasn't in the culture. And now when I sit down with someone who's 18 and they came out, it's a different experience. It's this is not for everyone, but more often than not, there is more acceptance
Yeah.
compared to 40 or 50 years ago. So it doesn't have that same like traumatic oomph to it.
One of the I was actually in the military right around the time that Don't Ask, Don't Tell was starting to get repealed, and
Yeah.
I almost like it was almost weird because it was one of the things where they just kind of like looked away. It was just like, as long as nobody really just comes out and be like, "Hey, Tiffany's queer," like
Right.
it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
I think I had about 2 or 3 women who were lesbian, and then I know for a fact we had 2 guys who were gay on my
Mhm.
flight when I was a cop in the military, and
Oh,
I was like, cool, like, all right,
yeah.
that's cool. Like, hey,
Yeah.
give me tips, give me some
Right.
tips. Um,
Uh-huh.
so like, I always kind of one of the things you were talking about, the tragic stories. Like, I've definitely seen the ones where it was like, uh, what was it? They gave me a medal for killing a man, but they kicked me out for loving one, and I always thought that
Oh,
was
yeah.
bullshit. It was like,
Yeah.
1945 and above was a weird, it was a weird transitional time, but like, I almost
Mm.
feel like everything in the world happens for a reason. We have to like where we get to the point of acceptance.
Yeah.
Like, it almost feels like we have to go through some shit before we can get somewhere.
Got it. Yeah.
Now,
Well,
when
uh,
when you first started working as a therapist, was there any kind of like shell shock where you're just like, oh fuck, like
uh-huh.
this is some shit, or was it kind of just, I expected this?
There was certainly, yeah, no, there's for sure shell shock, because I think that the thing that happens is, I don't know how well known this is, but for those therapists that are training, they're put in the some of the clinics that have the more severe cases going on.
Okay.
um we're just kind of like thrown in, and you're just like, all right, let's see how you handle this. So one of my first sessions, um the person was quiet the entire time, and I was just like, I don't know what to do now. This is And so I just, for 15 minutes we sat in silence, and I asked questions. I let them know I'm here. I asked if they're okay. And they were just so, not just, they were so dissociated from, they had a really intense, I had a intense traumatic history. And so I think just being in front of a new person
Mm-hmm.
was so overwhelming to them that they just shut down. um, and you just, for me, it took me quite some time to develop my own boundaries and my own framework to not take all that work home for me,
Mm-hmm.
take all that work home with me. I'm sure your mom can attest to this as a
Oh
nurse.
yeah.
um, I feel like I'm there. There's good days. Yeah, last year sucked. Last year
Yeah.
I burned out 500 different times as a therapist during the pandemic.
That must have
um
been rough, man. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
thank you. Yeah, same with your mom. And
Oh no, she
um
retired. She's done.
okay, good for her.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
She. It was funny because we kept having her. We're like, Mom, when the fuck are you gonna retire? She's like, I'm
Yeah.
retiring in 3 years. And then all of a sudden, she's just like, yeah, I'm retiring in what
Yeah.
was it, May? I was like, good. So
Yeah.
for the last, she's been retired now for like 6 months, but for the last year, she's basically just been handing it over to somebody else.
Okay.
And so yeah, it was
Yeah.
a good time to just kind of transition out. So as soon as the
Get
pandemic
out.
hit, she was just like, yeah, I'm retiring. I was like,
Yep.
good job,
Yeah.
Mom. So
Good. I'm glad that. Yeah. I'm glad.
yeah.
Yeah. I think I got a lot of. I specialize in the sex and relationships, and so I get quite a few couples coming in. And that was a lot of my work last year, was couples being like, we are stuck in the same tiny apartment together in San Francisco. And in San Francisco apartments, they're like 400 square feet, and you're like bunk beds, or if you don't, if you're not making millions of dollars a year.
This is my half trailer. What you're
Ah,
looking at is the
uh-huh,
biggest room I have.
uh-huh,
My yeah, so like this is like that, you
yeah,
just kind of copy paste this over. That's my kitchen and bedroom, or my kitchen and
got it.
bathroom, and then that tiny little door, that's my bedroom. I know exactly what it's like. I
Yeah.
had to live with an ex-girlfriend of mine for a month, and
Oh, yeah.
oh, it tested it. It tested it.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. So do you mind if I ask you questions?
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So you broke up during the pandemic or?
No, no. This was what. This
Oh,
was pre-pandemic. This was
got it.
two. No, this was 5, 6 years ago. Now we broke
Oh,
up.
okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. I tried. She was going on an internship, and our lives were just going separate ways. And
Yeah.
she had been my longest relationship that I had ever been in, going
Uh-huh.
on 2 years, which was
Uh-huh.
actually pretty amazing. Most of my relationships end at 6 months,
Uh,
but she knew it was coming, and I held on for dear life because I didn't want to let go of somebody awesome. And
sure.
then shit happened. I don't blame her
Mm,
for cheating on me. I'm like, yeah, no, that's fair. You wanted to break up with me. I was trying to hold on to something. So I was like,
I
okay, no,
see.
that's fair. But yeah,
Huh.
she
I'm
uh,
sorry it ended that way though. Yeah.
she was really smart about it though. She was really fucking like she pulled
Huh.
a power move out of left field. It was amazing.
Huh.
She's like, hey, you want to come meet me for pizza before work? I was like, I don't eat breakfast. She's like, oh, just come hang out with me before you come to work. I have like 15 minutes before I have to go to work. We're sitting on a bench. I'm like, what's up? What's up, honey? She's like, I'm breaking up with you. I was like, oh,
Oh man.
you bitch. I can't debate
Uh,
this. I have to go to work.
I have to go to work.
You're
Yeah.
smart. I was like,
This
this ain't
doorknob
over.
comment. Yeah.
This isn't over. But
Uh-huh.
like, I give her props for that. That shit was devious.
That's intense. That's intense. And then you have to go to work. Yeah.
It made my day a little bit easier. I'll give it that.
Okay.
Yeah, because I was a supervisor for student loans, and a lot of times
Ooh.
you're like, David, I can't do that. Like I just try to
Uh,
be nice. That entire day, I was like, David, no, just whatever it. No, just
no.
no, no. What you're asking, I can't do, bud.
Can't do, no.
Yeah, so, like it made the day a little bit easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so how's dating been for you? Well, how's dating been for you during the pandemic? Were you trying to date during? I know some people were just like not trying at all.
Passive. It was pretty passive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I found a girl. I know the audience has heard about it a few times, but I found a girl who basically lied to me about everything except
Oh
for like
wow.
where she lived. Yeah, it was insane.
Oh man.
Um, and I dated her for 8 months as soon as the pandemic started. It was long distance.
Mm.
That was interesting. It was very interesting. I would say I learned a little bit about myself.
Yeah.
It really kind of opened me up to a couple different things, but overall, it was weird. Just like to find out you don't know anybody, and then
Uh-huh.
dating is so weird right now because like people are more reluctant to meet up, and then you have the people who are like so anti-vax that you're just like I'm
Uh-huh.
like down to go to like a bar to hang out with you, but like no, not like it doesn't like let's go
Uh-huh.
like Thursday or Wednesday night when it's not so packed.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just so weird because then it comes up. Oh, are you vaccinated? Do you want to wear a mask? And it's just everybody's got their own little things, and you just the smallest little thing can just throw you way
Yeah.
off. You're just like, no, I'd prefer to wear a mask, or like I'm okay not to. Like, oh, you're fucking crazy. We gotta wear a mask. It's like,
The reactivity. Yeah, it's intense.
calm
Yeah.
down.
Uh-huh.
Not everything. We don't need to start World War III over the phone here. You know? But yeah,
Just
it's
trying to get to know you. Yeah.
I suck at dating. I really
Huh.
do.
What What do you feel like, the one or two things could change, then it would be easier? What do you have like that in mind? If
Yeah.
only. Mm.
Uh, recently, a couple of my friends kind of pointed out, like, when it comes to like joking and stuff like that, I kind of go from 0 to 100 real quick. Like,
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty good about that. Like, if someone asks me for my opinion, I don't really hold back too much. I'm just
Uh-huh.
like, David, do you really want to know? Yeah, I do want to
Uh-huh.
know, Jared. Well, here you go, buckle up, buckaroo.
Uh-huh.
So that's kind of what I do. So I give my unsolicited opinion a lot of the times right away too. But other than that, like I've had certain life events that kind of popped up that
Mm.
I'd be happy to tell you offline. But
Okay.
I just want to find someone who's maybe a single mom with a kid or
Uh-huh.
no kids, preferably. But I'm 34 now, and it's really hard to find a mom out there or a woman out there who doesn't want to have kids or has a kid or
Uh-huh.
doesn't want more. And it just
Yeah.
kind of my lifestyle as well too is a little bit different. I do a lot of podcasting, but like the few things that I will go out for, like I've traveled the world, dude. I was military for 6 years.
Right. Yeah.
I was
Thank
deployed
you for
4
doing that.
times and did a short TDY.
Wow.
So I've been around the world.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
I'm done traveling. I don't
Yeah.
want to travel. I've done it. It's a hassle. But yeah, and then
Uh-huh.
I live in a college town too. So you can kind of imagine what I'm getting myself into. They're like, oh, you're 34, take me around the world. It's like, I live in a little half trailer, honey. Please just calm down. Like the most expensive thing I own is what I'm using right now, my podcast computer setup. Like, let's chill for a second. I'll take you to Green Bay or Appleton or something, but let's keep it within a local 50-mile radius. So
well, and it's funny because I just had my first kid and I'm 40, and that seems to be the kind of the trend right now in at least the Bay Area is like older folks. Or you waiting till you're in like your late 30s or 40s to have a kid? A friend of mine just had his first kid at 45.
Wow.
I financially am glad that I waited till I was 40. Even like 3 years ago, it would not have been a good scene. I worked at like in bars and restaurants most of my life. Just bars and sex shops. I've done bookstores. I was a body piercer at one point. Worked in sex shops and bartender, but mostly it's been bartending in service industry for about 10 plus years, because it's an easy thing to do while you're at school. Not easy, but you can fit it into school.
That's a hell of a background, David. Like, you've been a therapist like your entire life.
Right. There's different. Yeah.
Yeah. Just
right.
Like I grew up in a bar, yeah. So
Wisconsin has got.
Yeah. I grew up in a bar, and just like I would see some of those people, and all of a sudden, oh, you're Bobby's kid, aren't you? Yeah, I'm Bob's kid. Oh, you're good at pool. And then next thing I know, he's paying for multiple games of pool. And my dad was a pool shark, so I was very gifted at pool. And I'm learning about this dude's second failed marriage. I'm like 13. I'm like, bro, like, that's cool and all, but like, I don't know what marriage is. I just learned that, like, kangaroos are a thing. Like come on, man. So like, it's kind of weird that like you did all that stuff, but like the kid thing, how is that, like, you did smart, like, that's smart. Like, how has a kid really affected the whole therapy thing now? Like, can you relate more to people when they talk about it, or?
Yeah. So, the other thing I want to quickly mention, or I don't know how quick this is going to be mentioned, sure, but I've just decided since my experience with my son being born that anytime I come across a nurse specifically, also doctors, but nurses, they're like really just so like through you to your mom, my utmost gratitude, because my son was born and then 2 days later had a medical emergency where breathing at home. They referred to him as a near SIDS kid. So if we weren't around him, it would have been bad. And that's so good. We ended up. So luckily we're anxious parents, so we're just like hawk-eyed, and now even more so hawk-eyed. And he was in the NICU for 12 days, and we still don't know what happened. We just got his genetics test, which is all clear, which is great, but it's also a big question mark. It's like, what caused that? But the nurses there were amazing, and we're just so heartfelt and touched by what was going on, and I was really touched by just how much they put their heart into it. So that's just like my own personal thing. I've been told that it's a different experience to have a kid, and I was kind of skeptical, but there's a different type of love that I'm experiencing, and it sounds maybe cliche, but it's true. I was really astounded. I was like, I'm just looking at this little dude who doesn't really look like me. I thought maybe that would be he's got my cheeks and he's got my tired eyes. And I'm just I have a complete love for him, and it just warms me up. And so when I talk to new parents who are explaining, the sleep deprivation or the terror that they feel or the joy that they feel, I get it a bit more. And I worked with parents beforehand, but I think I don't know if you know the term grok. I just grok it a bit differently.
Okay. Yeah. I have a very hard time. I've always thought I was a little autistic because like sympathy comes like really hard for me. Like I can't sympathize very well. I'm just like, sorry, you're going through some shit. I don't know what it's like, but okay. And I got snipped a couple years ago with that ex-girlfriend. That was one of the things that she actually encouraged me to do because she didn't want kids. And I've been like super happy about it ever since. but like I have two parrots, hence Parrot Gaming Productions.
Yeah, yeah.
And yeah, like I didn't think I could, like, she introduced me to parrots and I didn't think I could love anything else above and beyond. And
yeah.
like now I find myself where like women are like, because I've had girls go, I don't think I can do parrots, and it's like, I don't think I can do you later. You know, because
Okay,
like
that's your priority.
yeah, Helios is 21. I want to say
Oh,
he's maybe
wow.
21. Yeah, he's got another 10 years if I'm lucky. And then Blue, or
Time.
Mr. Blue Nibbles the third, is 6 or 7.
Oh.
My van blew up and I lost all their paperwork in the fire.
Oh, I'm sorry. There's a fire.
I got a Jeep out of it, so I'm happy.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, it's really interesting because like they'll be around for years, and it's just like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, like this is a kid. Like these are tiny
Yeah.
4-year-olds that I have to deal with on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
And like today, I wanted to. Oh, I was about to have parrot for dinner. I'll tell you what. Trying to call people and they're just talking, and I'm like, look, fellas, you gotta shut up. But yeah, no, I feel you on that, man. I got you.
Yeah, and pets are amazing. It's like one of the ways when I work with clients, I often ask them if they have any pets. I think that gives me a good read on what their support is like. I think, I have a dog, and it was kind of like hot or cold about dogs for a long time, and yeah, I'm just like, yes, this guy is great. I had a shitty day. Let's go hang out on the couch.
What kind of dog you got?
He's like me. He's a mutt. He's he looks weird in the best way possible. Apparently, we got him through SPCA 3 years ago, and apparently he is a retriever and dachshund mix. I don't know how that happened, but they say it happened.
Okay.
He's definitely got beagle in him.
Okay.
Yeah, he's an older. We wanted to adopt an older dog. It's apparently easier as a owner. So he's 10 and a half now. He's just my grumpy old man, I call him.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it was funny because when I get the paperwork back from Helios, if I ever when I do take him to his like every bi-yearly checkup, it's funny. I just a geriatric son Connor is on there, and I'm like, buddy, you're old. it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always I grew up with labs. I grew up with labs my entire life.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Had every type of lab except for a red lab.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Didn't know that red.
I didn't know.
Yeah, they are like $3,000 to $5,000 a puppy though.
Holy shit.
Yeah, like
Are they like Clifford or what?
It's kind of weird because it's a mix. Like it's a very dark maroon look. It's kind of black, but it could also kind of be chocolate, and they're gorgeous as fuck. Like they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
Though. Yeah.
That sounds cool. Yeah.
Now I'm gonna ask you this, but I just hit a Starbucks, so keep talking. You're gonna see me disappear. I need to get a water. But I can still hear you. Out of curiosity, when it comes to the therapy sessions, do pets have any sort of play into this? Like, have you noticed that people that have pets kind of respond better, or people that have kids kind of respond better?
That's a really good question. I think, well, with the pandemic, I was doing remote sessions before the pandemic, but then obviously I went to 100% for that time and still am. But I would get a peek into the people's homes, or what they wanted to show me, and oftentimes you would see their pets or their infants that were home, and so you can kind of see how they would be soothed or not soothed by their pet or kid. I think having pets, when I worked mostly with people that were in severe crises, whatever you want to say. If they have a pet, that usually is a really good indication that at least they have some support. Because they have that emotional support there, even if it's not designated as an emotional support animal.
Okay.
So it can be like a really, really important resiliency factor to have a pet. I'm trying to talk my mom into getting a pet. She's going up there in age, and I feel like, some companionship would be nice.
Yeah. What kind of pet are you trying to get her?
I like a smallish dog.
Smallish dog, yeah.
My dog, he's 45 pounds. He's a little too big for her. Yeah.
To be honest with you, a basset hound might actually be good. They're big dogs, but they're lazy carpets. They're amazing. Like,
she needs that.
Yeah. Like if you take him on a walk around the block, he's just like, yeah, no, I'm done. So that's what I've
Yep.
heard from Basset
Yep.
Hound.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Now I'm curious, when you say people in crises, like, how do I phrase this without kind of like I don't want you to divulge anybody's secrets, because I know that's a
Right,
big
right,
thing.
right.
But like when it comes to a crisis, like, do you see there's like a scale between like this isn't as bad to like, okay, this is some shit, like where the dude who just wouldn't open up to you. Well, let's circle back to that guy who just sat in silence for like an hour the session. Did you finally? I guess I could use the word here. Did you finally crack him? Did you get him to open up and just kind of explore, or?
Right, right, right. So I won't talk about him specifically, but
Okay.
oftentimes, yeah. I mean, I think it's hard to answer this question because I definitely started out as a therapist, kind of thinking about trauma in that way, but over time, it's helped me when I work with clients to, and I don't. It helps me to kind of just hear where they're coming from and hear how it's impacted them rather than what it was that they went through. And not that undermines the impact of what they went through, but what I hear so much from people that have gone through traumatic events is the self-minimizing or the self-gaslighting, because that is often what they've experienced when they are recovering from the trauma themselves from other people, saying like, it's not that big or whatever, it's part of the job, or whatever bullshit thing that they receive to minimize it. And so my work with them is to give it the credence it deserves, to give it the attention it deserves, give it the support it deserves for how it's impacted them and their nervous system. And the more I learn about how trauma affects nervous systems, just the more compassion and frankly love that I have for people that are really trying to change their nervous systems that were greatly affected by something that they had no choice over, really.
Yeah.
From a traumatic event.
Have you, when someone recovers in your sense,
Sure.
because like I know recovery can take on a lot of different forms. I had a problem with my stomach, and I'm still kind of like fighting with it. And I know exactly what you're talking about with that minimalization. Like the military in me is just like, suck it up, fucking buttercup.
Right.
Let's rock and roll. And then everybody else around me is like, no, you're dealing with it. And my mom kind of helps me. She's like, it's a lot of it's in your head. Just keep rolling with it. I'm like, yeah, a lot of it is in my head. And then, some days it's bad, but like,
Yeah.
I feel like I've kind of recovered. So when somebody recovers, do you feel that sense of accomplishment with helping them through it? I mean, is there like, where would you say the recovery begins and it's more on them to where you can kind of step aside? I don't know what I'm trying to ask.
No,
here.
I know.
Okay.
I hear exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
My face
Thank you.
looks
Thank
confused.
you.
It's because I'm thinking. It's kind of the wheels are
Well,
spinning.
no, it's like I'm trying to I'm trying to think of a good question here, and it's just like,
Your questions are great, man. No, I appreciate it.
I don't go this deep. Usually, I'm like, hey, what'd you like about Forza 6? Like, so it's
No, I like it. Yeah. Now I forgot the question already.
recovery, like.
Recovery. What is recovery? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, do I feel a sense of accomplishment? I do at times, but I feel like I only see them 1 hour a week, or 1 hour every other week, and so
Okay.
they're I want to remind them that, and I will get that gratitude, and I appreciate it and I say thank you, but I also want to remind, because I want to put the power back onto them and their agency back onto them, and not feel like they have to be relying on me as a therapist, to get by. But there is like, okay, we've worked really well together and we've been able to kind of find the path that works. And I am excited when I see people really get confident, or like accept themselves, or feel good about themselves, or work through the thing. It's like, I don't know, it actually gives me juice. It gives me excitement.
Gives you butterflies, makes you feel good.
Makes me feel good.
Yeah.
It's so like I did last year. I did my I've run groups for a while, but I ran this group that was specifically for men, sex, and anxiety. And it was a group, and just to see the ways in which they felt really supported by each other and how they felt really isolated beforehand was really it was like really cool to see. It was just like really touching to see, because there's just so much isolation with men, and especially when it comes to admitting that they have issues with sex. We're not supposed to admit that, right?
Like it's kind of funny because like I'm in sales now. Like
Right.
I sell for a lawn care company, and like if I have a really shitty day, I'm like, oh good, there are other people who had a really bad day. I don't feel so bad anymore.
Uh-huh.
It's like
Yeah.
the day that I thought was a garbage, horrible day. I'm like, oh look, everybody else sucked. Oh,
Uh-huh.
Timmy did worse than I did. Okay, I don't feel so bad. So when it comes to like
Uh-huh.
group therapy, does it kind of like you think like when a guy's like, yeah, I have a problem getting hard, or like I just don't feel like I make enough. Tom, who's sitting across the way, is like, yeah, I don't make enough. I don't feel blah. Like, do you
Yeah.
think that group therapy is a really good thing in mass, if you would say, or is it more kind of just like would it be individuality, based upon who would go to group therapy or not?
Mm. No, yeah, I think it's really good for. There's some people that just don't. They'll never do in group. I kind of agree with them just on their history or just how they do in groups. I think it can be really good to practice socializing with people, practice just getting to know people, um, practicing emotional maturity to be there and say like that really sucks. That really that sounds really painful, and not go to problem solving or not or to not minimize, and to just as they say, hold space. And it doesn't have to be anything epic. It can just be like, wow, I'm really sorry that you were talked to that way,
Yeah.
or that must have been really humiliating. And just to practice that um, can be pretty powerful.
Now, this is something that I heard a little while ago, and I just kind of thought of it again. I heard it was a Tumblr post that was posted on Reddit that I saw on a funny website that I went on. So, 4D chess here, if you will. Um, Somebody was like, hey, therapists are pretty much the cheat code for real life because essentially you're paying somebody to help you think outside the box.
Mm-mm.
Whereas we are in our
Mm-mm.
internal boxes, but then you get that outside
I like that.
perspective who has zero play in it. They're like, well, why don't you try this instead? Just
Yeah.
and sometimes it's the most little things. But have you ever had those moments where you presented a thought to somebody and just all of a sudden they just flourished?
Yeah, I think there are times where just like it's like you know round peg round hole, it just kind of fits, and then all of a sudden like everything comes into play, and everything, it's like the Rube Goldberg machine starts, and you're like, oh shit, I just am now really understanding
Yeah.
how. And I went into it like that just happened to me yesterday morning, where like my wife and I was acting like I'm trying to say it in a self-loving way, but I'm not going to. I was acting like a little child because I'm sleep deprived and I'm going back to work. And then something clicked about like to describe how I'm acting, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that's what's going on. And essentially like I'm cranky or whatever. And just when I clicked that, I was like, okay, I'm cranky and I'm looking to her to fix it for me. That's not cool.
No.
And then the moment that she doesn't fix it for me, then I'm upset with her and a little grumpy, and that's not cool either. I should be trying to focus on myself, and so, trying to give those moments to clients is really, they call them like the breakthrough moments. They don't happen too often. It usually is more of a slower burn than that.
Okay.
Um, but when it happens, it's really, I think it's gratifying for everyone. You're just like, oh shit, okay, everything's clicking in, great.
Have you seen that moment in a client's head where you're just like, yep, nope, they got it.
Yep.
We hit it.
Yeah, no, it's cool because you get to, there's the energy lifts up, and there's like the eyes open up, and you just kind of, it's almost like they're looking around the room, even though nothing has changed in the room physically, but
Hmm.
it's all kind of falling into place for them.
Yeah, the vibe definitely changes. The vibe changes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Now, this is kind of a side note here. Am I breaking up any for you? Like, am I kind of like a little jittery or
No, am I?
a little bit? Are you on
Yeah, I
Wi-Fi?
wonder. I am on Wi-Fi, but I have a fiber router right behind. I just moved into this office,
Oh, okay.
and I have a fiber router right behind me. I'm on a laptop. I need to
Oh,
get a.
oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you're readable, so you're gonna be good. It's just, I guess because I throw this up on YouTube as well too. I do
Uh-huh.
audio podcasts and I do the video stuff.
Great.
The video stuff, not many people watch the video. To
Okay.
be completely honest with you, but the audio is fine. You're
Great.
you're perfectly fine on that. I was just kind of curious because I was like, do I need to reset my fucking PC again?
No, and I was
Yeah.
thinking, I had sessions today, and in each session, at least one little glitch, and I was
Okay.
like, "Oh shit, I got the podcast."
Nah.
um,
Yeah.
Is the mic okay, or is it rubbing
yeah.
against my shirt? Or
No,
is this
you're
yep,
actually you're
okay.
fine. Yeah, it's when you move from left to right, you can kind of hear you're moving away, but you were still perfectly fine. You're still good to go. I would have
Okay.
totally been like, hey man, talking to the mic.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
you're not. I'm not a Joe Rogan where you got to basically eat the microphone. So no worries, man.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So when you do talk to clients and you kind of get that breakthrough moment, and they start to get the power back, usually how long is there like a set time frame where they wean off of you, like an Adderall pill or
Uh,
something like that, or is it pretty much just like you're like, hey, we found what works, go ahead and I'll see you in like a month or two, and we'll reconnect, or it
it's a case, yeah, case by case,
case by
depending
case?
on,
Okay,
yeah. I mean, and it also depends on what type of therapy you run with.
yeah,
Um, there's some that are very like short term solution focused, like for symptoms specifically.
okay,
And some sex therapy is like that. Like if a guy comes in and says, I have a hard time getting hard, and they don't have a trauma history, and it's like situational anxiety, that's I would say like 4 to 8 sessions of just like, okay, if we're just focusing on that, try it out. Usually with that type of therapy, I space it out every 2 weeks to give them enough time to practice and
okay.
have fun with that,
Have
and then
fun
report
with
back
it.
to me. Yeah, it's their fun homework.
I
Mm.
uh, I remember
Yeah.
when I visited the girl that I was talking to you about. I thought
Mhm.
it was I didn't really understand some of the medication I was taking that the VA gave me, and
Uh-huh.
I remember I was talking with my doctor. I was like, "Yeah, man, sex just kind of sucked." He's like, "Oh, it's because
Yeah.
you're taking such and such." I was like, "Oh,
Yep.
fuck.
Yep.
Hey, that would have been nice to know." But
Yep. Yep. Yep.
I'm gonna shut out one product. There is one product I will
Yeah.
swear by.
Yeah.
Extends from Walmart.
I think I've heard it is with a Z, right?
Yep, extends with a
Uh-huh.
Z. That
Yeah.
shit is like I'm 18 again.
Okay. We used to let the I wonder, I forget what type of supplements are in there.
It's like it's basically a blood flow. Like
Uh-huh.
I've noticed that basically just helps direct blood flow to wherever you need it. Like I remember I went on a disc golfing date, and I took it before
Uh-huh.
the date because it takes about an hour or two to kick in, and I could really feel like I was throwing much better. And then
Uh-huh.
when it came time to what she wanted to do on the date, I was like, oh, okie dokie then, and it's weird. Stay fucking hydrated though. That is the one thing I will say.
Yeah.
Stay hydrated. That
Uh-huh.
if you're not
Yeah.
hydrated, you're gonna have a bad time afterwards.
It's yeah, and I've talked to some guys where it's like, it's runny nose, or you get the flushed face, flushed chest, because it
Yeah.
just it activates it all. It was
Yeah.
Viagra was originally it was supposed to be a heart disease medication.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
It yeah extends. For what is it, like $15 a pack?
Oh,
Maybe 15 to 20 or something like that. But
yeah.
dude, 2 pills and you're good to go.
There you go.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know. Be like, hey man, you're having some trouble. Go to Walmart. $15.
Uh-huh.
Best of luck.
And sometimes I recommend to guys to whether it's extends or something prescribed, I say, give it a try once, just to kind of. I've talked to urologists about this too, to say like, is this something that you would recommend? It's just give it a try once, just to kind of get that confidence boost back, especially if you've had a hard time staying hard for a long time. Just to try it once or twice, remember what it used to be like, kind of have that recent experience in your mind to go to, and to show to yourself like, yeah, shit, I can get this done. It can be really helpful. You
Yeah.
can get the kind of the ball rolling, as it were.
Yeah. God, that was a beautiful moment with me and my because I do see a psychologist through the VA, and
Nice.
they kind of do a mix between everything.
Yeah.
But it was just it was so eye opening. It was like that aha moment that we were talking about. I was just like, oh, everything makes sense
Of
now.
course.
It's like,
Yep.
yeah, surprised we didn't tell you. It's like, no, we probably were
We
talking
should've.
about something else. So
Yeah.
no
Right.
worries,
Right.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, now, now with how you've kind of come into the psychology thing, you said you've talked with a urologist. How many other kind of doctors or people with fancy ass certificates do you really reach out to and talk to kind of on the daily? I mean, about certain things. Or like, have you found yourself reaching into areas of modern medicine that you just never thought you'd reach out to, just doing what you do?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. Because one of my friends, she just went to, it was a sex med conference last weekend. And so I'm really waiting. I'm interested to hear what she learned, because there's just a lot of like research and medication and treatments that are coming out.
Hmm.
And one of them that I honestly, when I first saw it, I was like, okay, this is bullshit. Um, but it's not. It's actually FDA approved, and
Okay.
I've talked to guys that have done it, and it's called Gainswave, and it is
Gainswave?
a yeah,
Okay.
gains, like getting gains, bro. Wave, and it's like a sonic. I, yeah, and this is why I'm not a doctor. It's
Okay.
it's a it's like a sonic wave therapy treatment administered to the penis. To I guess they've been realizing that there's actually a plaque buildup, which makes sense in the penis, which can affect blood flow. And so Gainswave is a essentially like a shock wave or a sonic wave treatment to break up that plaque, to open up the blood vessels, to allow all the blood that you want uh, into your
So,
dick.
so we're
Not all the blood.
we're essentially microwaving a dude
Yeah,
with vibrations to break up the plaque.
yeah. To get it.
Okay.
I
Like
mean, in that, compared to the other options, which is a shot directly into your dick, or a penile implant, that sounds much, at least first step, or no, that would be like fourth or fifth step, I would say, but
have
definitely before the surgery.
have you seen those behind the porn documentaries at all, perhaps?
A little bit, yeah. Definitely working in the sex shops, because we used to sell and rent quite a few.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm pretty sure I remember them talking about dudes like literally just like taking Cialis or
Yeah,
Viagra in like liquid form, just boop.
yep.
Yeah. I
It's
don't
called
think
Trimex. It's
Trimex.
Yeah, and you have to get the dosage incredibly accurate. I might be embellishing, but you have to get the dosage very accurate, because if it's too low, then it just doesn't work, or it doesn't work as much. But if it's too high, it's painful, and then you're just not wanting to, unless you're into pain. Then, but
I
yeah.
I fuck. Okay. All
So a lot
right.
of guys that I talk to that are given the option of Trimex, they don't really take it up, because it only and I'm happy to be wrong, but it's you know it doesn't work for too long. Like at some point you build up a tolerance for it, and then you like the actual size of your dick can't take the amount of liquid medicine that you need for it to work anymore.
The
Again, if
fuck?
you have a urologist listening, and I'm completely wrong, then please correct me. I would love to know.
Oh, we don't fact check on this podcast. It
Okay,
doesn't
cool.
matter.
Good, good. You don't have, yeah.
If people are listening to my podcast to learn things, you are in the wrong place.
That's all
Unless
then.
it
Yeah.
has to do with video games, that is
Uh-huh.
the only thing I like. I'm happy to read from the articles and take away
Yeah.
from that. But
Yeah.
beyond that, throw, roll a dice, see what happens. You probably have
Yeah.
better luck going with that. I don't I don't claim to be anything. If people are dumb enough to listen to me, go for it, big guy, or big lady, or whatever. Hot sauce, go for it. Um, no, I am curious because you really said that it's almost like you really have a high focus on men in general.
Yeah.
Is there much of a difference between when the ladies come to see you versus when the guys come to see you? I mean, like, are the issues like the guys usually have a issue and that's usually what it is, and then the gals have certain issues over here?
Yeah.
I know that's like two questions in one, so.
No, no, no. I think because everyone comes, or people mostly come to me for relationship issues. Um, I mean, I do, when it's couples, I tend to get, if it's straight couples, I tend to get the women call more than the guys.
Okay.
Um, I've, but the issues in terms, it's not too big of a difference. It's I want to make this relationship work.
Okay.
Um, and my biggest, one quick piece of advice is, if you are in a couple and you want to seek couples therapy, do it earlier than later, for sure. Couples therapists, we often see couples that are coming in and it's just like the last gasp. It's their last attempt to make it work, and
And
they've
that's
been putting
usually
it off.
yeah, that's usually by that time they're just
Yeah.
looking for an excuse to go, "Oh, this didn't work."
Right. And
Okay.
that can be really useful for therapy too, is like to have that space to end a relationship where it can be done in a really, respectful way or civil way, um, can be nice. As long as both parties go in knowing that that may happen.
Do you prefer to treat couples instead of single individuals?
I go up and down, So I know therapists that there's a lot of therapists that are just like, I will never work with a couple ever again. I think it's just there's something that's activating for them, or it just gets overwhelming, and I get it. Like, you have to track each partner, and then you have to track how they interact with each other, and then you have to track how they're interacting with you, and then you have to track how all three of you are interacting together, and so it's a lot of just like attention.
Fuck that. Fuck that. Hardcore. No.
um and so, like, and then I work with sometimes polyamorous folks, and so we work with triads, and so there's 4 people in the room, including myself, and then we're yeah, rolling.
I wanna throw my one job at like every time I can throw a jab at polyamory, I do, just because they I don't know if you listen to the episode, if any of the episodes you listen to, I throw out a jab at them just because I was trying to be inclusive and trying to learn about them, and they told me to go fuck myself.
Oh no.
Yeah, they were like, listen to this podcast. They already did it. It's like, no, I don't. No, I want to learn firsthand. Like I want to talk to people. No, nobody wants to open up to you. That's dumb. Fine, whatever. I don't want to be an ally. Yeah,
got it. The whole polyamory community.
Yeah, but I tried polyamory, and I was like, no, not even a thing.
Didn't work
like I know who I am.
Yeah.
When it comes to triads or whatever 4 people or 5 people are called,
Sure.
How big does jealousy come into play with it?
Yeah, no, that's great. A good amount. I think, there's actually a really good workbook by a colleague of mine called the Jealousy Workbook. And it can be used for non-polyamorous folks. But, I think there are some ways where we are socialized to be possessive, and in some ways also that the people's personality types or attachment styles can be, either, I can say possessive, or that's just not their style. They're more of a monogamous. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's something, it's a recurring theme for sure.
Okay. Yeah. Because that was in the few polyamory, because I like to lurk on polyamory, the subreddit for that, and it's always funny to see the people with the one penis policy, or
right.
you always just kind of see like the jealousy, like almost every post. It's just like, dude, you're jealous. Like, polyamory just might not be for you.
Right, so. And that's okay. Like, and I think there's some polyamory books that I really like because they will start off with, this is not for everyone. This is, and I think there are some people, just like monogamy, but also with polyamory, to say like, this is the answer for everyone, and that's just not. That can't be the case.
That's one thing that I love, is that like everybody wants to put in their 1 or 2 cents, and it's always been absolutely amazing. And I apologize if anybody's eardrums kind of hurt there. Somebody decided to rev their engine in the trailer park.
Oh, I didn't hear that. No.
Oh, good. Okay, if it didn't come through, then good. But yeah, like it's always just kind of interesting to see, where people focus on like what the issue usually is. And a lot of the times I just you see everybody throwing out these answers, and it's funny because it's like the answers kind of slightly deviate from somebody else's a little bit, and that's because that's what works for them. And it's just,
right.
I almost want to be like, you guys stop asking each other questions on here, because everyone isn't like, this is the one time I'm okay with snowflakes, because what works for you, David, is not going to work for me, which is not going to work for Timmy, and it's not going to work for Sarah, because everyone has their own individuality, and they have their own individual definitions of what polyamory can be.
Yeah.
And it almost feels like you have to kind of be like, this is not for everyone, but here's a bunch of kind of cool answers that might help you form a,
Yeah.
So
and that can be a wonderful thing. I was like, all right, we got options. Let's figure this out. Sorry, we got something to play with.
Yeah. Pun intended.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, man.
No, it's good.
It was there.
I set it up.
Yeah. So with the burnout that you kind of been experiencing, I want to talk about that a little bit. When you say you've been experiencing burnout this last year, is it just the amount of people that have been coming to you? Has it been the severity of the things that have been hitting you? Take it away.
Yeah, no, that I appreciate that, because I've also been doing more reading on it now, because I'm thinking about doing some like workplace workshops, including nurses, for burnout, because it just seems it's like maybe nurses, teachers, therapists, on and on, parents, caregivers. So what I was experiencing was definitely burnout, and I think it was the severity and the quantity, but also one thing that I was reading recently, and I forget where I read it, sorry, was that burnout is not necessarily just about how much stress we're taking in, but what we do to recover from the stress
Yeah.
and how long we're able to get to recover from the stress. And I wasn't having much. That's the same way that like CPTSD works. Like complex PTSD is, you know, your nervous system doesn't have the chance to calm down enough before the next traumatic event happens. And so on a lower level, burnout is like that, um, where the you know, so I was taking on a lot of clients because I wanted to meet the need. I was lowering my fee because people were out of work, and so which then meant that I had to work more. I hope if any clients are listening right now, I love you all. I had a great time, and I learned something about how I need to take care of myself.
But hey, thank you for lowering your costs. I know in the pandemic that was a big thing that I've been noticing is that money's just been a big, huge issue. So
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, no, yeah. I wish that the way that, you know, the light that was shed on finances and capitalism over the pandemic lasted, but it seems like it's just right back to, you know, how much money can everyone make, and yeah,
Yeah.
not surprising, but damn it.
But hey,
Yeah,
minimum wage is getting raised.
yeah, that's very
So
true. Minimum wage is getting raised. No, that's really true. Um, so yeah, I don't think I was recovering. I was doing recovery really well. Like, you know, I wasn't sleeping well. I enjoyed some booze. I enjoyed some sugar. Um, I haven't. I used to smoke cigarettes quite a bit, and I still don't. I think, you know, a respiratory illness plaguing the world was really good at keeping me from smoking. But
yeah, if anything's gonna stop you, oh, this
yeah,
worsens it. Yeah, let me just.
yeah. But the moment that I started to do the things that I was really pushing against, which was, you know, exercise and working out and eating well enough, and hanging out with people to the best that you can during the pandemic, the less my burnout was. But I also did need to kind of change the way that I was engaging in work and how much work I was doing. Um,
Nice.
and so over time, you know, I don't feel burnt out now. I feel like I've got some good boundaries, and, you know, trying to work out more, trying. It's not, you know.
Is when you is being a therapist kind of a 24-hour job where if somebody is having a moment of crises, you're willing to step in, or is it kind of, look, Dave, it's 9 to 5. I can't really step outside the bounds unless you're on a ledge here, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's depends on who you're working with, and, you know, I'm in private practice, so I can kind of um say who I see or not. When I used to work in agencies, I didn't have that say.
Mm-hmm.
um and um but it is, you know, also like running your own business is kind of like a 24/7 thing, so I am checking my phone pretty regularly, for better or worse. um and if a client does reach out, I will try to reach out to them, and especially if it's a crisis, I'll try to reach out back to them within an hour if I'm awake. um but I haven't had too much of that, you know.
I I am a little curious what a crisis would be off books. Do you have any examples that you would be comfortable with giving?
I mean, I think it's just like finding out a sudden death, or finding out, you know,
Oh,
a sudden loss, or whether it's job, relationship, or life.
okay. I
You
I,
know, if yeah.
I thought with like sex, it'd be like,
Oh, with yeah,
yeah, with the kind of sex therapy, I'm just kind of like, I mean, the only thing I could
no, that's a
imagine
good
is an
right,
email at 2 a.m. Dave, it was super hard. Hell yeah, man. You
right.
know, like,
But that also brings up a good point, right? So like I'm a sex therapist, but then I also work a lot with trauma and anxiety. And so there's some people that come to me and saying like, you're a sex therapist, great. And then we end up not talking about sex for a year or 6 months, and we're talking about everything else in their life. And then at some point they're like, oh yeah, right, I'm polyamorous, or I have this one kink, and they just want to know that if and when they do get to it, um, I won't judge them, because that's especially with polyamory and kink. They've found therapists that will just, you know, um, talk them down, or say like, oh, you're not really that interested in it, or whatever, which is
well,
not what a
see,
therapist should do.
now I want to ask you, what's the strangest kink you've run across? But that would be kink shaming.
Right? Yeah, yeah. And
But
kink shaming is my kink. No.
but like that, like I just, like I don't want to shame anybody's kink, but like I
Yeah.
just, when someone's like, oh, you got to be wearing, like a Nazi uniform with great
Uh,
polished boots, and then
uh,
have a 1911 strapped to your shoulder, and then don't forget the parrot. It's like, is the
uh-huh.
parrot that important, or like what kind of parrot does it have to be?
Yeah.
It's not like like, dude, that's weird, but like that's totally dope that you like. How did you
That
come
detailed.
to that? You
Yeah.
know, like how did you get to that?
And I think, yeah, some people are far more like detail oriented with sex or just like their own kind of
Yeah.
fantasy life, and you know, and other people are just like, I just want to get off. I want to pretty direct. And there's way more in between. Yeah.
I had a so there's a local sex shop, and if I named it, anybody that would listen, you could pretty much just go, "Oh, that's where he lives." So I'm not going to say it, but it's really hilarious because I was buying a joke gift for a friend of mine
Uh,
for her birthday, and it was funny because I brought a buddy of mine was with me, and he's the kind of dude who like gets really drunk and has sex with kind of like random people, and so like everyone's kind of drunk, and he's kind of used to just like starfishing. I'm sure, yeah, you know what that phrase is. And it was funny because I brought him into the sex shop, and there was this
Wait, starfishing. He starfishes.
no, the women he's with.
Yeah, yeah. So he likes it. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Got
Probably because they're too drunk, or like I don't
Yeah.
know. I can't. He's weird. But it was funny because there's this hot goth chick who was working behind the counter that day. I was like, fucking score. He's gonna. His name was Brad, and he's this redneck country hick boy. And I was like, I'm gonna blow his fucking mind. And like he's looking at some of the porn DVs, and he's like, "Holy shit!" And she's like, and the girl who's buying there's like, "Oh, honey, go over the corner over there." And there's this dildo that's just this massive fist,
Oh,
and
yep.
he picks it up, and he's like, "People buy this?" And she's like, "I sold 2 last week." And he just drops it and goes, "I'm out, Jared. I'll see you in the car." I was like, "All right, bud."
Too much, too fast.
Yeah, it was just amazing because like I would talk to him and he's like, she just kind of lays there. It's like, well, what the fuck do you do? He's like, I usually get drunk. I was like, well, that's your fucking problem.
Yeah.
You know, and it was really funny because like I took him to the porn shop and he just had no idea. He was just
It was-
blown away.
Yeah.
I was like, Brad, yeah, this you got to do this stuff, man.
You gotta give it a try.
I love the dude, but he was such like he was pure Wisconsin redneck. It was amazing.
Yeah, we would at the shops we would sell. There's one thing called, it was called the Challenge, which was just a great name for it. Or no, it was called the Great American Challenge, and it was a butt plug that was like, you know, the size of my head. It was the widest. You know, it was just this enormous packaging and bright cherry red.
I've seen
butt
that.
plug. Yeah, yeah.
There's a podcast called PKA, and FPS Russia is one of the guys on there. He ordered it and it didn't. I don't think he didn't know it was that big, and so now he just has it on his like he's brought it out a couple times, and it's just this like how like. Do you think anybody's ever actually legitimately gone? I could try.
100%, 100%.
How many people do you think have passed the challenge?
A good amount. Yeah,
A good amount.
yeah. I mean, I don't know the number, but I think it's doable for sure.
It's doable.
It's yeah.
Oh my God.
There's there's a one sex toy called, I think it's called the Pogo Stick, and it's a silicone about the size of my finger. That's, you know, I don't know, but size of a bottle cap, let's say.
Okay.
And it's about, you can get it in varying lengths, 18 to 24 inches, and it's yep, to go into your rectum and just see how far you can get it up there.
Excuse
And
me.
you know,
Holy
some people
shit.
there's a desire to see like how far can I go, you know, like sounding. Do you know about sounding?
I wish I didn't, but I do. Please, you can stop right now. I don't think anybody wants
There's competition for that too, is all I gotta say. Yeah.
fuck it. That's just like fuck. Now that just brings up a whole bunch of questions that I don't want to learn about, man. Like
That's the one that gets like a visceral response quite a bit.
Well, like
Sounding.
I get it. Like I've seen it done. I just don't see it I just without thinking of the few random times that things have happened to me on accident where sounding is like I don't know, like it just feels weird to me. It's just like internally I just go, how would you find that, you know, like like the first like when you hear about the person who first heard a parrot talk, your mind just must have been absolutely fucking blown. So when you're just like oh okie dokie, then that seems like something I want to try again, you know, like it
Go
just
right down that hole.
yeah, it's like, all right, this is a rabbit hole I get to fucking venture down. And like, not that I don't want to venture down these rabbit holes, but when you venture down the rabbit hole and you're like, I like this, look at what I have. Like, I I upgraded my entire PC. I got a brand new whole everything I'm using. It went from something so small for podcasting, where it's just like just something I'll do in the pandemic, and then I started to get listeners, and then people continued to listen, and I was just like, well, fuck, all right, let's do this and this and this, and next thing you know, I've got a brand new PC. I've got fucking. I just need to stop.
Yeah.
So
it get kind of carried on. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it'd be cool to explore that way, but at some point in time, you're just you're going to find some shit, and I don't want to have a life altering thing to where it's like, oh goody, now this is something new.
Just something new to dump all my money into. Well, yeah. Kink is one. It can be incredibly expensive because it's just, I mean, it's also like the material involved. Leather is expensive, and metal is expensive, and there's a great store in San Francisco called Mr. S, and it's a leather and kink shop, and they have those fists, and they have the challenge, and they have things that are bigger than that, and they have it's 2 stories, and it's they'll help. They're really, really nice guys that work there, and but you'll definitely get your eyes will be open as to oh shit, okay, that's
I mean,
how expensive it can be.
I can only imagine what people like. Because I almost feel like when it comes to kink, especially when you're into you've seen those pictures where it's where it's a chick, and then she's got her 100 or so dildos all laid out, and you just kind of see it cascading into these giant varieties, and you're just at what point in time do you just kind of go, this is too small for me, and then and then what point do you go, this is just too big,
where's your extremes?
I almost feel you meet somebody who's got a fucking thing how do you compete with the size of a fucking water bottle? It's just I can maybe surgically implant a motor in there, but maybe I don't know, it just
and so I think that's a really good point, right? So that's something that I get sometimes where straight couple, or let's say just a couple, comes in and say, my partner tried to introduce this toy, and I was so it ranges from I was so offended, how dare they even consider bringing this into our house or our home, to I'm really embarrassed. I know it should be fun and everything, and I know I should have fun with this, but I can't help but think there's no way I can compete, and to try to think of it as a way that it's not a competition, that is just this there's no linear way to have sex. We're told that there's a linear way to have sex. We're told that we're supposed to make eye contact, touch hands, grab each other's junk, suck each other's junk, or bang, and then come and then go to sleep. But if we think of it in this way, which is in my workbook, and I got from this therapist that I really respect, Martha Kauppi. Actually, she's in Wisconsin, Martha Kauppi. She does a lot around sex and sexuality and kink and polyamory. But she talked about the circular model of sex, where if you just think of it as you're in this round bed, from the 70s, and around the border of the bed is all the options that you can have with sex. And it can be oral sex, it can be massage, it can be making out, it can be banging, it can be this or that, it could be flogging, it could be spanking. But there's no actual order that you have to follow. And a hard dick is not required for every single one of them, which is what the other linear model is like. That the circular model allows way more playfulness, way more room. You can go up to oral sex and then go down to just massage. But it takes some steadiness. You need to kind of slow yourself down when you're feeling like you're about to come and you want to get it done. You got to allow yourself to take a deep breath, slow down, which is can be easier said than done.
Yeah.
But it really opens you up to just different ways of connecting and being intimate with a partner.
One of the interesting things about that circular thing is that it's weird every time I know this is probably something a lot of people don't want to hear, but every time I have what I like to call the fireworks, it's something totally different every time. If it's hey, position XYZ worked last time, it's no, the second, we could literally do it 2 hours later, 2 days later, a day later, and we're position XYZ. Nope, nothing, absolutely nothing. Just spin the wheel of random and see where it lands. So
it's not predictable. Yeah.
One of the, that's it's not so much that it's embarrassing, but it's just kind of one of those if I'm using something of that caliber, I'll just say it, anything of that high caliber, where it's just I know I can't compete with it, and I know it shouldn't be a competition, but it's just how do you go from that to this and then still enjoy this? Like, that's just what I find strange, because like when I find my ticket to paradise, that's the ticket of paradise for the day, you know?
Got it.
So, you know, it's just kind of weird to me where it's like I can go, well, that's a ticket, that's a ticket, that's a ticket, and then we go all the way in left field, and that's a ticket too. I just find that weird, because to me, it's just like, nope, we got it for the day. That's it, boys. Put it on the docket, you know? So.
Right. Yeah, and sometimes that is what sex can be. It's just like a one and done, you know, scratch an itch, have fun, bang it out. And other times it can be where it's more prolonged and you have, you know.
Oh, I mean, like, literally, I'll spin that wheel for her. I don't give a shit. But when it comes to my
Your
firework,
it's
let's find the one thing on the docket and call it a day.
Got it. Yeah.
That's just, it's always weird to me that it's just like, wait, but that thing is so vastly different. And I mean, I can understand the vast differences, you know, like I get the difference between pulled pork and then the McRib, like they're both, and I'm a vegetarian and they're both fucking amazingly delicious. But like, I get the, you know, like I get the difference, you know, I get the difference. So it's just weird. And it's weird. Like if I'm talking to somebody like one-on-one, like I get totally dirty with it. But like in this setting, I just like, because I don't want to be like telling people like just the dirty ins and outs of me, you know, like that's kind of it's just like when you were saying, just grab each other's junk, and it's just like, that's a good word.
I like using that word, especially as a therapist. I do have to go soon.
I just
got a text. But
no problem.
This is lots of fun. I'm actually also thinking of doing a podcast myself in a few months, like everyone else is.
Sure.
But if you ever want me on again, I would love. This is lots of fun. I like
man.
Your style. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, it's very freeform. There's a gentleman that I do who's Navy, who I connected with, and we the 2 times I've been on with him, we've ran 3 hours each time. So.
Oh, nice. Yeah. If I had more of a time, I would definitely be here longer, because it's
no problem.
I
man.
like chatting with you. Yeah.
No problem, dude. Yeah, I'll shoot you another email. We'll set something up. So, where can people? Do you have anything out there that you want to pimp out? Let the people know.
Yeah,
about?
For sure. Sorry, to that really loud.
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Well, they can go to warriortherapy.com. It's warrior with an O. And there will be all my links. And what I have is I just released a workbook called Sex Warriors, kind of a play for how guys feel like they should be this powerful warrior, but sometimes anxiety gets the best of us. And so it's geared towards men, penis having folks, their partners, and also for therapists who want to, you know, work around sex therapy and sex interventions. And it's a way to incorporate mindfulness and self-reflection and queer theory, in terms of like, it's not just about your dick, and you know, you can be a man in so many different ways. It's not just Rambo. So it offers some prompts for some self-reflection to kind of think through how you want to work around, you know, your anxiety around sex and dating. So you can check it out on warriortherapy.com.
Shoot me all your links that you want me to put in. I'll throw all the links out there. YouTube is a little weird with some of the links, so they may not be included. The YouTube link, don't worry, right. They're on the audio platform, and that's actually where a lot of people listen to me, is the audio platform. So you send me all the links, I'll throw them all in there. David, awesome. It's been an absolute pleasure, my man.
It's been a lot of fun, Jared. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, not a problem, man. I'll reach out to you again. Have a good one, all right?
Take care. Bye.
Bye.